So in terms of moving forward, we might wonder now, Corinne, since you've got this business and you've put in so much effort, and you've got your registrations in various countries, you've got all these contracts, they're money in the bank. The contracts with the organiser of the supply through Victoria, the contract with the tire manufacturer, the contract with the Indian supplier, even your contracts with. Does Bruce normally do a contract with you, or does he just all verbal?
No. Bruce is very fussy with his contracts. I do have lots of contracts with him. In fact, for every one of those, means Kim, I got a contract.
Well, my point is that you've got that architecture of relationships and architecture of documents. You've got your branding. You've got the team of people that are supporting you, like Vanessa and Bruce and myself. How long do you want to keep doing this business? Where do you see the exit path for you?
I'm exhausted. This has been so much hard work. I want to concentrate now on my grandchildren, get rid of this and enjoy life really, and being able to go to those countries and relax rather than do business. So I would really like to sell it, retire.
Okay, the sales job itself is going to involve some time. I wonder what Bruce has got to say about this.
Yeah, selling business is not always easy. I guess there's two thoughts about it. If you sell it as it is as a proprietary limited company, you're not going to get very much for it. For a food company, you might get 3 times earnings multiple. If you make it a public company, you're going to get probably 20 times multiple on your earnings. So you're going to get a much better return. And you could probably end up, if you list it on an exchange, you could probably end up having the business still running and not being involved in employing people. To run the business for you and just sit back and take a dividend once a year or a director's fee. So you've got various paths you can choose to go there. We can look at a trade sale for you. We have contacts in that area. Or we happen to be a registered advisor to this asset of the Australian Small Scale Offering Board, where we can offer and get investment from the public in your entity. Or we can look listed in Singapore, that might be here because you've got a nice product. Singapore will pay you $600,000 to list the company there. We're a technology-based company, but it's not ongoing. Or Finland, we get this in 6 weeks in Finland. There's lots of options, but I guess you've got to look at where your market is, where the investors are, and what you want to do. Or you just want someone to come in and buy maybe build a master group or Nestle or someone that's got a comparable product and just take you out of the market. But at the same time, you need to be careful when you're doing those negotiations. You need to get a lawyer involved. Some people will come and offer you an upfront fee with a big commission ongoing, and all you'll ever see is the upfront fee maybe $50,000, and that's basically the value out of the market. They just see you as a competitor. We give you $50,000 and shut the business down and see you, and that's the end of it. So yeah, you just got to be careful going forward that you make sure you have the right people to do the negotiation for you, particularly in the contracts and the investors.
Excellent.
There might be another meeting for your accountant, sorry. Another bill from the accountant. Well, you've been through 5 accountants in the last year, but this policy. I can understand.
That sounds good. Yes, I've already sort of been approached by some of those big companies, and I find it very difficult to look at it and say, well, can I trust, as you were saying, what they want to do in their contracts? And that's very complex. That's very different from where I started in my little kitchen,
I actually think that we need to do something which involves taking on board the notion of export as well, because I think that if you don't have in place the contracts with the distributors overseas in those BRIC countries, I don't think the price you're going to get is very high, because from what I heard Bruce was saying, it all made sense. And I would say that that's an exercise, the exercise of selling, floating, getting additional partners in. That's an exercise that should involve you in, let's say, 2 years worth of planning in the ideal situation. So can we perhaps do some planning like we did originally at the beginning of this exercise and think about how do we deal with exporting out of Thailand now, and not just to Australia, but to these other countries. Have you sort of got some plans on how you'd move that forward in order to go towards this trade sale possibility?
Well, actually, Corinne, I'd like to introduce you to the China Blueprint people. They actually are specialists in dealing in those countries, and it's probably worthwhile catching up with it. They're actually at a trade show at the moment at Rose Hill, so you probably should just drop over to Rose Hill and catch up and have a chat, because they've been there, do that, and they have I guess, excursions into those countries to introduce you to various players. And again, it's like going into Thailand. You need to do it again. You need to go through this whole exercise again in these other countries. But they are huge, expanding, rapidly growing countries, and it'd be exciting to get into there. That would really make a lot of value to your business.
Yeah, well, what I've learned along all this so far is that using all the expert assets certainly saved me a lot of trouble. There's a lot of, you don't realize how much you don't know when, I mean, I'm there crazy in my kitchen creating this rice and have this big vision. And without all those experts around me, I would never be where I am now, in a situation where I can probably sell it and retire.
I congratulate you. You've achieved a lot. But looking forward now, when you think of countries like Brazil and Russia, and even China, selling rice to China, that's a bit of a challenge. But when you do that, I mean, what familiarity do you have with those cultures, with distributors in those markets? Who do you know that could actually work on interpreting, negotiating? I mean, how do we get into these countries?
I think those people that you so far will
Go back to them. What have they got to say?
yeah, what you could say.
I've got lots to say, Corinne. Look, I think it goes back to everything I've been saying to you. Cultural awareness. We think that we know, morals and all of that in the different countries, how to do business. It all comes back to aligning yourself with a company that can certainly assist in the education of the different cultures. You need to think about your marketing in the different countries. Some colours are offensive in countries, whereas they may be appealing to the eye and force someone to buy it here in Australia or wherever. These are all things that you need to establish, and you can't do that on your own. You need people in the ground to help you. Having an Australian language service provider, they have the network of people around to assist in the negotiations, obviously, with the interpretation of the different languages, but also with your marketing as well. Because as I said, the way you do business in Thailand is going to be completely different to how you do it in Brazil. Because in Brazil, you'll be on the beach in your little thong, I think. So you need to be aware of all of that and across that. And it comes back to building those strong relationships in each country that you need to be exporting into.
How far down the road are you in terms of systematizing the way you would deal with these additional countries? Because the more countries you go into, the more of these issues that Vanessa's raised you're going to face. What are you going to do there? Have you got the IT in place just to begin with? Does the website have multiple languages in there? Can the distributors order through the website?
Yeah, well, on the Vanessa's advice, we've had a multiple language website, so that's sorted. In terms of distribution, I believe that with Brazil it's going to be a little bit different. They don't have the same sort of system of distribution as they have in a lot of the Asian countries. So I have some of the system, yes, will work. Some of the agreements I can keep some similarity, but I think they also need to be reviewed, because it's going to be very different in South American country than the South Asian country. So that's what I'm looking at the moment. But Brazil sounds good.
Probably a suggestion from me, Corinne, is to actually get some templates together. And whilst a lot of your ideas and the way you do business will be very similar, as we've spoken about, each country is going to differ. If you've got your template there ready to go, it keeps it standard across all of your negotiations in each country. But then there'll be certain areas of your template that will differ based on the cultural differences, the transportation and distribution, all of that sort of stuff. So that takes this whole process out, so stops what we've done right up until this day by doing it in each country, because you've got your templates in place, you know what's expected, you've done your research, and where it differs, you've got it in those templates.
Well, that's good. I'm glad I don't have to reinvent the wheel again. And I'm sure Bruce will be able to help me again for more grants to expand in other countries.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
It began with an idea, and the idea was to combine nuts and rice in a canister. The idea went through many phases, many processes. Contracts were certainly the running theme of the entire process. But what Corinne learnt throughout was that the largest part of the problem of making real the contracts that she's had to rely on to get over crises, the largest part of the problem has been things connected with record keeping, practical realities reflected in contracts, the specifications she had at the back of her manufacturing agreement with the ties, the record tracking, batch numbering that she had for the nuts in Victoria. All of these contracts were only made real by the details that they included in the record keeping that was incorporated with them. So Corinne never went to court, always was able to get over her issues because her business was architected.